10864. Station's your final time cue will be with 15 seconds until airtime. Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
The following is a presentation of Learfield. Welcome to Duck Insider.
Our whole athletic department, there's a level of expectations of success.
Throw, catch, touchdown, Oregon.
He can run and slam.
This is back out for a three. Left wing is good.
In the air to center, back at the wall, is out of here.
Really excited that we get to rep our Ducks and hopefully come back to Eugene with some championships.
Indoor track and field national champion. And for the fourth time in the last 6 years, the Ducks are Pac-12 champions.
We have so many teams that are excelling right now, and it's really fun to be a part of.
Give it to me, baby. My house. I'm taking it there.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, here's Joey Mack.
Big basketball game for the Ducks tonight. Continue to say it's a must-win because Oregon's sitting squarely on that bubble. And, you know, I think there's a lot of fans that after a couple losses for the Ducks, it's like, man, are they still even on the bubble? I think they are. The latest bracketology, and there's so many different brackets that you can look at, people that keep track of the tournament resumes and everything that's going on. Well, I'm going to give you a little bit of an idea here, at least from my notes, of where the Ducks sit and what this game could mean for Oregon tonight. That's on the horizon. Talked with Coach Altman this morning. We'll have that for you on our 6 o'clock Coors Light pregame show. That begins this evening ahead of the 6:30, actually going to be an officially 6:40 scheduled tip time for the Ducks and the Bruins at Matthew Knight Arena. Tiger Campbell went through warm-ups and did not play for the Bruins a few days ago. They got the win. He didn't go, but talking with Coach Altman, he says that they anticipate that everybody is going to play, including Tiger Campbell, for the Bruins here tonight. I think that's how you have to prepare. You got to prepare as if they've got everybody because, well, if you don't and you assume they're not going to have somebody, then, of course, he's going to play and you're going to go, dang. So I think the Ducks are preparing for Tiger Campbell. Peyton Watson, who had a really nice game against Oregon last time these two teams played, he also has been a little bit banged up. We'll see if he's going to give it a go here against the Ducks tonight. But either way, a really, really talented team, especially because Jalen Clark, who has been sort of pressed into more minutes with some injuries for UCLA, he's actually played really good. In fact, Coach Altman said yesterday that he's got better numbers than some of their starters do right now. That's how good and deep and talented this UCLA team is. So what does that all mean for the Ducks? Well, it means that Oregon does have its work cut out for them. And I think they match up well with this team, but they're going to have to rebound. This is a physical team in UCLA that's got some bigger guards. They've got a little more length around the perimeter than the Ducks do. And especially with Oregon playing a lot of three-guard lineups, I think rebounding a real key in this game. They're going to have their guards rebound. Davion Harmon's going to have to do well. Jacob Young had probably the best game we've seen in an Oregon uniform the last time these two teams played, and the Ducks were able to get the win because Jacob Young got out and ran in transition. And I think that's a critical piece to, well, how this game's going to go tonight and what it means in the Pac-12 standings. Well, Arizona's sitting at 14-1. USC and UCLA are 12-4. Then it's Oregon at 10-6. Colorado hot on their heels at 10-7. Ducks have got to take care of business. Ducks have got to take care of a few games here down the stretch because that's how you earn the first-round bye in the Pac-12 tournament that, don't look now, but the Pac-12 tournament is 2 weeks away. Last homestand here this week. The Ducks will travel to the state of Washington next week. Then they're in Las Vegas. And here's hoping that they're not playing on Wednesday. It's so hard to win 4 games. The Ducks have done it. They're still the only team in the Pac-12 in the tournament in Vegas that's done it. But you don't want to be playing 4 games. You want that first-round bye. And I think that helps Oregon's postseason resume. So how the Ducks go about getting the win over UCLA, I think they're going to have to play physical. They're going to have to get out in transition. I also think that because UCLA has so many different guys that can score, you just can't let this squad have one individual get going. I think that you can't have one guy go off because then what always happens is teams make adjustments and then it could open the door for somebody else to go off. I think just solid defense from start to finish, limiting runs, is going to be really important for the Ducks in this particular game. So talking about the bracketology, right now the last 4 byes in the tournament, kind of by consensus, Miami, North Carolina, Creighton, and San Francisco, a West Coast team. And then I'm reading off of Joe Lunardi's bracketology right now. His last 4 in, Michigan, Indiana, Memphis, San Diego State. First 4 out, you're going to see some opponents that matter here. SMU, a team that Oregon beat. BYU, a team that Oregon lost to. Oklahoma, Dayton. Then the next 4 out, Florida, Kansas State, Oregon, St. Bonaventure. So the Ducks are still squarely on that bubble. If they beat UCLA for the second time this year, I think Oregon might move up from next 4 out to first 4 out. Especially, I don't know how much that head-to-head is going to matter, but Oregon's got to win over SMU. They don't over BYU. If you get 2 wins here at home, I think that the Ducks are still squarely on the bubble. If you lose one of these games, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. But I think Oregon is still within striking distance of a postseason berth. But the margin for error is razor slim or maybe gone. Need you at Matthew Knight Arena tonight, everybody. Really need you at Matthew Knight Arena tonight because a home crowd sure can fuel things for the Ducks. And this is a big-time game. And you know what? Oregon and UCLA have played some real great ones since Mick Cronin took over the program for the Bruins. These have been 2 really fun games, or fun teams to watch play games over the last few years. One of the best moments, we all know it, in the Oregon-UCLA matchup came when Dylan Brooks hit that shot where everybody just went nuts. You might have seen it on social media, but Dylan Brooks, Chris Boucher, they talked about some of their favorite memories at Matthew Knight Arena, and well, this was one of them. And how about just letting Jerry Allen tell you how much fun it was?
Brooks with 3, 2, good! Oregon wins! Oregon wins! The 3 by Brooks is good. They're going to look at it. The fans are on the floor. Oregon has done it. UCLA comes in undefeated, and Oregon upsets the Bruins with time running out. It doesn't get any better ending to a basketball game.
No kidding. I was fortunate enough to be helping Jerry on that broadcast. It was in late December of that season, and it was the Pac-12 opener for 2 ranked teams that were feeling pretty darn good about themselves, and I had the pleasure of sitting with Jerry for that game, and it was a lot of fun. There's no doubt about it. I had a lot of fun sitting with Jerry. That was one of the cool moments at Matthew Knight Arena. We've seen a few. Here's hoping for a few more down the stretch. Women's basketball last night. We're going to hear from Kelly Graves. It was, the blood pressure was high. I'll just put it that way for fans watching this Oregon women's basketball game. Still to come on the show as well. Yesterday, Melyssa Lombardi, head coach Oregon softball, Hannah Delgado, and KK Humphreys all met with the media. We're going to have those interviews for you coming up because the Ducks will be in action tomorrow. We will actually have some updates for you on Duck Insider based on Oregon competing in the Mary Nutter. That's one of the tournaments the Ducks go to every year. They're going to be playing 2 games beginning at 10 in the morning on Friday, so we'll have some updates for you. And then tomorrow, I do want to mention, we've been talking about the home opener for Oregon baseball at PK Park, that improved PK Park. We're going to hear from Mark Wazakowski and a bunch of student athletes tomorrow on the show previewing that 4 o'clock first pitch for the Ducks, and St. John's coming up with a 4 o'clock first pitch, 3:45 pregame show. But let's talk a little women's basketball before we hear from Kelly Graves. Great game. I mean, even though it didn't go Oregon's way, I got to tell you, it was an interesting game to watch and listen to Terry call, because the Ducks kind of had to gut it out, it felt like, didn't they? You know, they're playing at altitude. We know that Oregon has played the most games of anybody in the country in the month of February, and just felt like they were gutting it out there. Maddie Shear gets banged up, ends up toughing it out, coming back into the contest. Didn't look 100%, but, you know, that's what competitors do. The Ducks didn't get the scoring going until late, and with 1:27 left, they trailed by 11 points. They were down by as many as 14 points in that fourth quarter. They ended up rallying. Indy Rogers was great down the stretch. The Ducks tied it to force overtime. They tied it again to force double overtime. And then I don't know if the Ducks just ran out of gas or what it was. But the Ducks, again, it was a gritty, gutty performance down the stretch. They were 9 for 9 at the free throw line in the fourth quarter. Felt like that was a real key for Oregon extending the game. And then I think the frustration was that Oregon went 1 of 4 at the free throw line there in the second half. And I know it's always 20/20 hindsight, right? Like, man, you wish that they could have made some free throws and, oh, that one's going to hurt and just all these things. But, I mean, you end up losing by 3, and I just, man, I feel for this team because I feel like they're so close to taking that step forward, especially with Nyara Sabally scoring 22 points. She had 11 rebounds in 41 minutes. Indy Rogers had 28 points, 4 of 11 from 3, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, only 1 turnover in 44 minutes for Indy Rogers. And just continuing to look at some of these numbers, I mean, Tina Paopao, not her best shooting night, 3 of 14, ends up scoring 10 points, but had 6 assists in 40 minutes. Maddie Shear ends up playing only 12 minutes, but Sydney Parrish, 33 minutes. Elise Hurst, 34 minutes. I thought Elise Hurst was a real X factor for the Ducks in this game, and if she's hitting shots the way that she was hitting, I think at times against Colorado, could be a difference maker for the Ducks down the stretch. She was 4 of 9 from 3, but 34 minutes. Just those minute totals. Sona Prince with 21 minutes coming off the bench, 8 points, 4 of 5 from the floor. Look, I don't want to say that it's a moral victory. This team is past moral victories. But you just appreciate the grittiness from this team. And so my takeaway is twofold here. The loss drops Oregon to 4th place in the Pac-12 standings at 10-6, just ahead of Utah. So if Utah wins its game against Oregon State tonight, the Ducks will need a win over the Utes on Saturday. That's who they play on Saturday, to secure a first-round bye in next week's Pac-12 tournament. So the Ducks still have a lot on the table in front of them. You really want, just like the men, you really want one of those first-round buys in Vegas. But elsewhere, I think that for the Ducks, how nice is it going to be to have an extra couple days in between? Like, playing on Wednesday, I was talking about that earlier in this week. Playing on Wednesday, it stinks, right? If you're the Ducks and you're playing so many games and maybe you need a little bit of practice and recovery time, the Ducks didn't necessarily get that because of the Wednesday game. Well, now they're going to have today, they're going to have Friday, and then they play Saturday. They get a little extra rest at altitude. Probably a good thing. But then I think it's twofold because you know how it's always a little funky when the women's teams play the Pac-12 tournament the week before the men, and so the week of the men's basketball Pac-12 tournament, there's no games for the women before their selection show, and then their tournament goes on, starts just a couple days after the men's tournament does. This team, I think, could end up being really dangerous come postseason because they're finally going to get that rest that they need with that long week off. And I'm telling you, I think this team is that close with some of these wins and some of these close games that they've played. Now, they got to do it. There's no doubt about it. But I feel like I like Oregon's chances once they get a little bit of time in the lab, as Coach Graves would say, and then who knows what a postseason run could look like for this Oregon women's team. They've got the talent. We've seen it. Now they're still trying to figure out how to close out those close games. Similar to the men's basketball team. The parallels between these two squads this year, you couldn't have scripted it any more similarly than the seasons have been. Quick timeout. When we come back, we're going to hear from Kelly Graves what he thought of that game last night. And now a couple days to get ready for the Utes in what may be the decisive game for 4th place in the conference. Back after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear winter, you can't stop a new 2022 Toyota. No matter the weather, the Camry all-wheel drive comes out to play. Snowy hills don't stand a chance against the RAV4, and everyone's comfy in the Highlander. See you in the snow. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
Dear winter, you can't stop a new 2022 Toyota. No matter the weather, the Camry all-wheel drive comes out to play. Snowy hills don't stand a chance against the RAV4, and everyone's comfy in the Highlander. See you in the snow. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
your daily dose of Oregon athletics. This is Duck Insider from Learfield.
Okay, forest animals, kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow, have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. River, how's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man.
I love it. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. Okay. Squirrel.
The forest has been preparing just for you. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack here with you in the Country Financial Studio. And, we were talking about how important the standings are in the Pac-12. And I feel like it's always one of those things where I lose track during the course of the season of just like what exactly those Pac-12 standings look like for the men and the women, because you're so used to Oregon always being up there. Well, I mean, how cool is it, though, to still see two teams that are fighting to be top four in the Pac-12? I mean, these are two programs that obviously they want to be winning the Pac-12 every year. And it looks like as the Ducks come down the stretch, Stanford's clinched on the women's side. Then it's Washington State at 10-5. Arizona's 9-5 right now. And then Oregon and Utah 10-6, 7-6. And, of course, Utah plays against Oregon State tonight. Got to be able to keep track of that one. We'll have updates for you over the course of our broadcast on the men's side here this evening. 6 o'clock pregame show, 6:40 scheduled tip time on ESPN with the Ducks taking on UCLA for men's basketball. But getting ready now for a big-time matchup with Utah. There's no doubt about it. That's going to end up being – look, it's going to be important no matter what, because Oregon's just going to need to have a game to kind of get right. But with a noon tip time on Saturday, that means an 11:30 Pacific time pregame show with Terry Johns for Oregon women's basketball against Utah. Kelly Graves talked with the media post-game, brought to you by the Willamette Valley Cancer Institute and Research Center. Fight like a duck with cancer care you can count on. What did he think of what was truly a great game, even though it didn't go the Ducks' way?
Kelly, well, obviously, you guys closed the way you do after what was a really tough start, and that's been emblematic a couple of times, including in wins and in these losses. How do you sum up what the fight that you show at the end? But obviously, the first 30 minutes can't be ignored either.
Yep, that's what we talked to the team about. We can't just expect to turn it on. We've got to come out right from the start and play with that same kind of urgency. It's unfortunate because I thought the last quarter and certainly the last part of regulation anyway, and then the overtimes, I thought we played pretty well. But, it's a shame. It's a shame. You have to, at this point in the season, learn lessons like that. We can't just kind of go through the motions to start.
Yeah, so, Coach, tough loss. But on the lighter side, just wanted to get your opinion on Indy Rogers. She scored her 1,000th point tonight. I just wanted to get your view on the season she's had and everything she's done. She scored 28 points tonight on 10 of 18. I just want to see what you think.
Well, India was a warrior tonight. She played her butt off. She's a true gamer. I think that's really neat that she went over 1,000. I thought her and Niara down the stretch, in large part really carried us. We didn't have a great shooting night, but those two seemed to find a way. So good for India. I'm really proud of her. She's fun to coach, man. You can never question her heart or her toughness. Happy for her. I thought we had some others play pretty well tonight too. I thought Elise Hurst did a nice job. I thought Sedona had a solid game too. So, we had some bright spots tonight.
Kelly, what did you see necessarily change in the second half? Was it as much as
played harder? We played with some urgency. We talked about that going into the game. We haven't locked up a a bye in the conference tournament. We talked about that. We had as much to play for as these guys did. Now we've been really nice to people. We've been the win that gets them into the NCAA tournament. This is a win that just got Colorado in. I think sometimes we just play like we've won something. Like we won the championships. Those championships weren't won by this crew, and nobody on this team was on any of those teams. And we can't just come out and go through the motions. We got to play harder, man. We just got to play harder. I got to coach better. I got to prepare them better. But it falls on everybody right here. But again, I can't be prouder of the way we fought and came back into that game. I thought that the kids did a great job of managing those last couple of minutes of regulation, and then maybe we ran out of gas. The altitude's real, man. And I think early in the game, it could have affected us. We tried to get everybody in and out very quickly to kind of get that second wind as soon as possible. Maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know. I'm sure glad we have an extra day on this road trip to recuperate, because we had a lot of kids play a lot of minutes tonight. They need that extra day.
Kelly, just wanted to get an update on Maddie. And I know she checked back in, but she played so limited there. Any initial update on just what it was with the right lower leg there and
ankle? I think it's an ankle, but I don't know. I mean, she looked like she was in some pain after the game, but showed some toughness, fought through it because we needed her. We needed her defense on a few possessions there. I hope she'll be all right. She's kind of struggled with that from time to time.
Felt like this was maybe the best we'd seen Niara play in several weeks, especially down the stretch in regulation in the first overtime. Speak to that and maybe what was working. It seemed like you guys had a mismatch you were able to take advantage of.
Well, you guys have heard me talk about Niara before many times. I think Niara's best defender sometimes is Niara. If she wants to play, she's a really difficult matchup for anybody because she's so quick, can go by big kids, and then she can overpower some that are a little smaller. We went to her a ton. She got to the line 10 times. How many? I don't have the official stats. I don't know how many fouls she drew. I wish I could have challenged one of those. You guys saw it on TV. I don't know if they replayed it. Was that kid in the circle?
Sure looked like it.
The circle on that one charge. I only had one timeout left. I didn't want to burn it to challenge. But yeah, she's a heck of a player and, really carried us on the boards, inside. I thought that when we were going for the win in the first overtime, two options. We had Indy coming off a pin down. It was either going to be if Indy was open for a quick curl for her to shoot it, or throw it into Niara. We had 2 seconds and we would have made the play, but I think we threw it to Indy a little late, and she ended up just kind of taking a desperation three. That was kind of on everybody there. Niara was she's a terrific player.
Those are things that you can all learn from. But, man, I'll tell you, if Niara Sabally and Indy Rogers are playing like that, if Maddie Shear is healthy, Tina Paupau's maybe a little more efficient. I mean, look, there's so many little things that I feel like with this entire team, they could end up being really, really good. You get hot down the stretch, but you heard the passion there from Coach Graves. I mean, they have now been the win for opposing teams that has helped them, right? And I'm just going to read a comment. This is not coming from me. Tobiah, that was not a charge. Colorado player was moving and in the restricted circle. I can neither confirm nor deny that I agree or disagree with said statement. I think that's what Coach Graves was getting at. But look, we can all sit here in moments like this, and that's not a single play that loses a game. There's a lot of plays that win or lose a game. And I think that's kind of what I took away from this game last night, is like when Oregon got it going, Oregon was really, really good. But the Ducks didn't have that same fire. And we were talking about the parallels between the men's and women's programs before we heard from Coach Graves there. Well, how about the parallel he's drawn of you got to be consistent in your effort and you're playing hard? That's what Dana Altman's been saying about the men's team too. I think if both of these teams get more consistent, and, hey, if we all had the answer to that, they'd be doing it. But just getting more consistent, Both these teams could get really hot down the stretch. That's Coach Graves talking about what was a tough one, and now you hope that they're going to get a big win over Utah. They're going to make a run in the Pac-12 tournament, and we all get to listen to a lot more Terry Johns with a pregame show half an hour before every tip-off. 11:30, that pregame show on Saturday for Terry. We've got a full schedule, by the way, for you on Saturday. A lot of Oregon athletics going on, including softball, including tennis, golf. There's tons. But as we sit here on Saturday, here's what it's going to be on the Oregon Sports Network. And check the local listings in your area, goducks.com/OSN, where you can tune in, because we will have a lot of overlapping broadcasts. Those of you listening to Oregon baseball, you'll notice in the Eugene area, it'll either be on 590 AM/98.1 FM or on 95.3 The Score. The reason for that is because we've got men's basketball and women's basketball going on sometimes same day, same time. For example, on Saturday, women's basketball pregame begins at 11:30 with a noon tip-off. Baseball pregame begins at 1:45, 2 o'clock first pitch at PK Park. Jordan Brenner has you covered there. And then basketball against USC on the men's side at Matthew Knight Arena, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock tip for the Ducks and the Trojans. And those are just the ones that we're bringing you on the Oregon Sports Network. You've got softball on the road this weekend. We've also got beach volleyball beginning this weekend. The track and field squad is in the Pac-12 Invitational. And then women's golf will be out in Florida this weekend as well. Men's tennis, women's tennis in action. Who am I missing? Oregon lacrosse. They've got San Diego State in Eugene with a noon start time at Pape Field. A lot of game days around the Oregon Athletic Department. And also a match day around the Oregon Athletic Department. But this one is in Waco on Sunday. Acrobatics and tumbling taking on Baylor. Just a ho-hum start to your season between the two traditionally best programs in acrobatics and tumbling. And it's going to be on ESPN+. You'll be able to tune in for Oregon and Baylor at 1 o'clock Pacific time for the Ducks taking on Baylor Acrobatics and Tumbling. It's a busy weekend for Oregon athletics with a lot of sports coming toward the tail end of the season and a lot of sports getting rolling. Speaking of sports that are getting rolling, we're going to hear from Melyssa Lombardi, Oregon softball head coach, when we come back. The Ducks taking on a pretty good schedule here this weekend. And by pretty good schedule, well, we'll tell you about it when we come back on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
You're listening to Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Okay, man, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. Cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Show the world that you're tougher than tough.
Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
To some, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much, but that's not true. They're testing out vowels and consonants and trying different sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on meaning, especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Learn more at autismspeaks.org. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Back in the Country Financial Studio, it's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Oregon men's basketball in action tonight, 6 o'clock pregame show. 6:30 is the scheduled tip-off for the Ducks taking on UCLA. Going to be on ESPN as well. It's a big national showcase for the Ducks. And speaking about a national showcase, I think every year the Mary Nutter is a really good test for Oregon softball team. This is, a little bit into the season now. We're in week 3 for Oregon softball. They're going to be down in Cathedral City. It's on Flow Softball if you want to watch. I think a subscription is required for Flow Softball. But Northwestern, pretty good team that they're going to take on this weekend, as well as Missouri. That's the doubleheader on Friday. So you're starting with a couple big-name programs. Ducks with just one loss this year. They won the series against Baylor in their trip to Texas last week, but still some things to improve on. And that's what Coach Lombardi was talking about this week when she met with the media before the Ducks travel south. Here's Coach Lombardi.
Coach, going into this weekend, you're probably going to face the best competition that you will be facing until the start of PAC. What is it you're looking to see from the team, and how do you think you're going to win these first couple of games that you face those good teams?
I think one thing we've been talking about is having quicker starts. You can see we've been strong with our finishes, but if we can start a little quicker, I think that will give us opportunity to do well this weekend in all areas.
Coach, you mentioned those quicker starts. How do you sort of diagnose it, and how do you get those quicker starts?
I think with that, just trusting in our plans, in all areas, just trusting that what we've prepared for, it's the right way, and to just get to it quicker. Like we've gotten to every one of our plans in every game. It's just taken us a little bit. And I just think through these past couple weekends, recognizing that we've gotten to those plans, it will give us urgency to get there a little quicker.
Miss, you wanted an update on Tara and Brooke. I know Tara took the ball off the hand, but is she going to be able to get back this weekend? And with Brooke, is her timeline, is this weekend possible, or is it a little bit further down the road?
Yeah, with both, I'm actually just kind of waiting to see. So I'm hoping this weekend we'll get for both. I'm still waiting on that, but
the first game you guys played, I can't remember the pitcher's name, Oren, I believe it was. You guys had some difficulty seeing the pitches, being successful with the pitches rather. By that third game, you guys were able to put that together. What was it that she was doing so well in the first game, and what transitions or adjustments were you guys able to make in your estimation to be so successful in that next time you saw her?
Well, I think one thing we recognize is that she throws hard. She's she's a power pitcher. She has a lot of velocity. And so we were going into that prepared to be on time for her velocity, but then we started to recognize that so we were prepared for high velo and say inside. And then we started recognizing that she has the high velo, but she kept throwing everything away. So even though she throws hard, we were actually early on what she was doing. So I think once we just kind of got our timing right and looking to drive the ball the other way or up the middle, I think that's when you start to see us have success.
Coach, without Brooke, you've had to rely heavily in the circle on McKenna, Stevie, as well as Jordan. This weekend in particular, how do you think the trio did?
Are you asking for the past weekend?
Yes, for this past weekend in Texas.
Yeah, no, I think they did great. I think we've got a great staff. I just think we needed to clean some things up. We thought at times we threw too many pitches. You could see that we're definitely getting our strikeouts, but then there would be times where we would give up too many hits or give up some runs that I felt like we didn't need to give up. So I think you could see with that group that when we're tight in the strike zone and changing speeds, we're really tough. If we leave balls over the plate, I felt like that's when we get roughed up a little bit.
Coach, what have you learned about your team through the first 2 weeks, considering you haven't been at full strength? What are some of the things you've learned that you didn't know, prior to the first pitch of the season?
Well, I think you're exactly right. I mean, every one of our lineups has looked different because we've had different people in and out just due to different situations. And so what I like is that I've learned that I can put any lineup out there and we can have great success. I learned that we don't have to rely on a couple, and that there's so many different people in our lineup that know how to step up and become clutch. I've learned that maybe we started off a little bit slow, but we figure it out. And when we figure it out, we put up a lot of runs. I've learned that our pitching staff gives us opportunity to win in every single game that we've been a part of. And I've learned that really loves to play together and they love to compete and win together.
Missy, two questions on Delgado. I know she was she came in as an infielder, but you moved her obviously to left to get her in the rotation last year. In moving her to center, when obviously that spot was open, was the thought process that just her range as an infielder allowed for that most, and that also that Hannah may be best suited for left from a defensive side. And offensively, she certainly did well last year, but when you look at her conference numbers and then take a look at her situational splits, I mean, her situational splits were pretty unreal. I mean, if the NCAA site is correct, I think she hit like 410 with runners in scoring position and 2 outs last season. And so far, in a small sample this season, she's doing really well in these spots for a young player. How have you seen that she was able to transition that so quickly?
Hannah is very athletic. So she came in as an infielder, and we can put her right there as an infielder and would do great. But then we were needing a spot in the outfield. And I can remember last year, the practice that we put her in left field, and just instantly she handled it as a young freshman. This year, all fall and even in January, we had center field wide open, and she wanted it, and she worked really, really hard to get it. I think the instincts that she has in the infield, just all the different responsibilities as a second baseman, I think gives her, it just gives her the knowledge, gives her the awareness to just be strong in center field. I love what she does. I really loved how she went back on that ball against Baylor, against the wall. And I mean, she almost made the catch, got the ball in quick, and kept her to a single. So I like what she's doing out there. I've been really impressed with her. I think at the plate, she's very particular. She knows what she wants. I love her triple threat. She can come up and drive a ball, drive runners in, or she can drop a bunt down the line or do some short games. So I love how her game has just continued to get better from her first year into her second year.
Coach, sort of on an opposite note, there was a lot of hype coming into the season about Ariel Carlson and how she developed over the offseason. We saw it in fall ball. She struggled throughout the first 2 weekends in terms of putting it together at the plate. What do you have to do to get her to that spot? And how does she have to improve at the plate to be what was sort of expected of her coming off of that fall ball campaign?
Yeah, I think it's just to remember it's early. We've got a long way to go. Ariel is a big part of what we do. We love the power and the presence that she has at the plate. We love what she's been doing in the outfield. So, sometimes we get into the season and we start off hot and then cool off a little bit. Sometimes we might start off and, need some additional at bats, but I trust in Ariel and everything that she's doing. And I know she's going to be really big for us. So I think it's just continuing to be patient. Sometimes if you try to force things and you don't get what you want, I don't think she needs to force anything. I think she just needs to keep swinging the bat with confidence, and, things will happen for her. She's worked too hard for it to not.
KK's gotten off to a nice start for you, and obviously came as an experienced player already. She gets to play her former team this weekend as well. What has she brought to this lineup already, and how you've seen her be able to have success already in the short time, and I'm sure she's gonna feel some kind of way about playing her former team this weekend as well. But I'll let her speak to that. But to what you've seen from her and how she's been able to transition to this team already.
I think another one that's just put a ton of work in. She spent a ton of time with Coach Martyr and adjusting some things on her swing in the fall and through January. I think she's an absolute competitor. And the most important thing to her is that our team wins. And if she's playing first or she's playing third or wherever it may be, she doesn't care. She just wants ultimately to be able to play at a high level and for us to walk away with the W. I think she's got a lot of energy on the field, and that, from there, it goes on to our other athletes. And I really like that about her. As far as playing Fullerton, with the transfer portal, that's just kind of part of our game. And I don't really know if she's going to be honestly that caught up into it. We've already played at Fullerton. We opened up there our first game of the year. I think she's excited to come off of a big weekend of Baylor and to continue with that. To me, that's what I think she's pretty excited about, is to continue what she was doing in Baylor. Loved how she was driving the ball to the right side and coming up clutch for us. So I can't wait for her to get back on the field this weekend.
Coach, Hannah Gailey, you've stuck her at the bottom of the lineup for the majority of the start of the season. She didn't get that many hits this weekend, but she was still able to get on. Can you speak more to her approach at the plate this season and what you've liked from her?
Yeah, I love that she's taken her hacks. I love that she's looking for opportunities to find any way to get on base. I thought she's done, this last weekend, it was a little bit of a struggle, but she still managed to get on. And to me, I think about that 9 spot and your ability to turn the lineup over. And I like that she's been doing that. She's been able to turn the lineup over for us. We moved her up to the 8 this past weekend, and then Kedri had opportunity to turn the lineup over, and I liked watching her do it as well. So again, I like that we have different options and that we have strength throughout our lineup and then the ability to turn it over.
One of the approaches that you've always had, or at least since you've been here, is just being aggressive on the base paths. And this year's team has so much more team speed. That's probably the best team speed you've had since you've been here. How much of your decision making is the team speed, what's available, and how much of it is just kind of what your approach is? But like, you've been really aggressive, particularly that third game. You could just see that put Baylor on their heels a little bit. What is your mindset going into how you approach being aggressive like that with the team speed that's available?
I agree. I think this year it's our deepest team that we've had, and we've had speed in the past, but I feel like throughout the lineup we have speed, and with that it allows us to do more things at the plate. I felt maybe at times in the past we were a little one-dimensional because we had a lot of right-handed hitters in our lineup and maybe had a couple that can run. Or with this year having some lefties in our lineup, but also having some righties in our lineup that can do multiple things. I think it allows us to put runners in motion with short game and with hit and runs and things like that. So it's been exciting to watch these guys execute.
Got to be able to score in multiple ways, and I think that's one of my takeaways from this past weekend for Oregon softball, and we'll see how they do. They're starting at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, the Ducks against Northwestern, then they'll play Missouri, 2 games on Friday, part of their trip for the weekend down to Cathedral City, the Mary Nutter tournament going on. When we come back, Hannah Delgado and KK Humphreys, they met with the media as well. We'll continue to zero in with some student-athletes from Oregon softball on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
Money isn't interested in the fact that you dream of going to Greece, and it doesn't pace at night wondering how you'll pay for braces 3 times. The point is, money without people is just money. Only people can use it to run the family ranch, buy their first house, or adopt a happy old dog. To us, the powerful thing about money isn't money at all. It's helping you harness the power of yours. On Point. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
This is Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
It's 4 a.m., Monday, and you're literally sucking baby snot through a tube because she's congested. Man, that's love. And if you love her that much, love her enough to make sure she's buckled in the right car seat. To make sure your child's in the right seat for their age and size, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
America, your children have an amazing superpower. They can help save lives by not having play dates. That's right. By replacing get-togethers with virtual play dates and video chats, they can help slow the evil spread of germs. And if your superheroes do go outside, make sure they continue their superhero wing by staying 6 feet away from others to protect everyone in America land. Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
Basketball coming up tonight as we welcome you back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack in the Country Financial Studio. Going to continue to hear from Oregon softball, though, because they met with the media this week, and it's officially overlap season with the Diamond Sports getting rolling. Let's start with KK Humphreys, a player who's kind of burst on the scene for Oregon a little bit since joining the squad, and just had a nice start to the year, and I think gives Oregon some versatility, some different options. KK Humphreys meeting with the media this week.
KK, what's the transition been like for you to joining this team and getting acclimated as quickly as you have and having the success you've had so far? Just what's that process kind of been like?
It's been pretty easy going as I came in. I'm still the same me, but just being able to adjust to what the coaches want from me here. Like, they always tell me that I'm so versatile and able to play multiple positions. So I'm thankful that I'm able to move around the field and just be able to be in the lineup.
Hi, KK. So you look at this past series that you had against Baylor, which is going to be very similar to what you're going to see during conference play. But this weekend is a little bit different. You're facing many different teams on different days. And Coach said that she was really proud of how you guys were able to, finish the end of that series. But what is your mindset, your plan of attack going into this weekend, knowing that if you face one team, there's another team that's completely different that you're going to have to face next?
Honestly, it's just trusting what the coaches are telling us. We have different scouting reports on everybody. So being able to know what our plan of attack for this certain team and be able to kind of like turn the switch to another team just quickly, not worried about what happened that last game or what's happening in the future.
KK, you've been driving the ball really well. You had multiple extra base hits over the weekend. Can you take me into your approach at the plate, how you're seeing the ball and how you've been able to put everything together so far in the start of the season?
Yeah, so we've had to make a lot of adjustments with my swing, but just being able to have better pitch selection, I guess, was my main problem, you can say. So knowing which pitches are certain at-bats are the ones that I'm going to drive has definitely helped me a lot.
Can you take me into a little bit of the specific adjustments that you made?
Oh, yeah. So a struggle that I had was going to the direction of a certain pitch. So making sure that my shoulder is going into the outside pitch or the inside. So we've been harping on that a lot in practice. So that's one of the adjustments that I've been making a lot recently.
KK, going back to kind of what James had mentioned, the transition you've made, but one thing that I've noticed in particular with your play is how passionate you are. You're always kind of bouncing around and yelling around. How much of the transition has come from just your natural style, and how much of it do you see as kind of taking the experience that you've got and kind of, I don't want to say becoming a leader, but becoming a vocal spokesperson out in the field?
Yeah, so that's kind of always been me. I'm always jumping around. I'm always screaming. I like to celebrate the little things because that comes to just winning ball games. So just from experience, I would say that playing a game that has a lot of failure, being able to celebrate the little things, like I said, goes a long way. So being able to go up to my pitcher, if they get a stride, get ahead on the count, it's just like the little things matter in this game. So just being able to show that to my team that, hey, like you got ahead on the count, like that's good, kind of little stuff like that.
Take us into just what the process was for you to choose to, change locations in your career early on, and because obviously you were playing, so I can't imagine playing time was a primary factor necessarily. So what went into the decision and why Oregon, and how you feel about this weekend and playing your former team?
Yeah, so Oregon was just a very competitive team that really caught my eye, obviously, and just being able to be in the pack, which is like probably one of the most competitive conferences there is. Going into this weekend, I'm really excited to be able to play a lot of competitive teams. As far as playing Fullerton, it's just another game. Like, I would love to see all my old teammates, but it's just another game to me. It's not anything special.
Talk to me about your play in the field. You came in as a middle infielder. You played primarily on the corners, and particularly first base was not a spot where I expected to see you. How are you faring over there at first?
I honestly love it. Like I said, they really see me as a versatile athlete. So being able to just play multiple positions, like that makes the sport more fun to me. And also just if I'm in the lineup, I don't care where it's at. You've played a lot of softball, obviously, in your career, and you played last year, a different team. Coming to this team, how would you describe the chemistry or the cohesiveness of this team? If you were to put it into words, what would you say kind of
personifies what this team is this year and what you expect the rest of the season to look like?
Yeah, so one word I could put it is just that we're all sisters. Like, I've never felt so connected with my team, both on and off the field. Just being able to have that chemistry on the field goes a long way in our sport. So just like us just having each other's backs is a big thing. So
how much and how well did you know Hannah before coming here, given that Centennial and Santiago are separated by about 100 yards, but you played for different club teams. So how well did you actually know each other?
Me and Hannah actually played rec ball together, so we go a long way back. So going into high school, we know each other like on the field, obviously, and off. But it's always fun to play against her. Now I get to play with her, so it's amazing.
KK Humphreys coming over from Fullerton has really been, I think, a great addition to this Oregon team so far. And the versatility, like we were talking about from KK Humphreys, is important. And going to get a chance to play against her former team this weekend, the Ducks. Mary Nutter's a good test. I think we're going to learn a lot about this Oregon softball team this weekend. When we come back and hear from Hannah Delgado and talking about the connections, it's just not that big when you get into this competitive sports landscape. They all kind of know each other. Back after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a country financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local country representative.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
More Duck Insider coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
When might you be buzzed? When you suddenly love everything.
You guys, I love this song. I love these nachos. I love our kickball league. Ugh! I love this guy. What's your name? You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I love your car. Is this real leather?
Hey, so what's a great way to spread awareness that driving high is illegal everywhere? A catchy song, of course.
You can run, but you can't drive high. You can run, but you can't drive high.
Friendly reminder, don't drive high. If you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Tons of Oregon sports going on. You can head to GoDucks.com for more info. The composite schedule, as we call it, if you look on GoDucks.com, it's full. It's a good thing, get a lot of overlapping events, and it makes Duck Insider fun because we get to hear from not me, which is really what this show is all about. Let's hear from the student athletes. Let's hear from the coaches. The next on the list for Oregon softball, Hannah Delgado. She sat down with the media this week talking about the season that she's had so far, and to be honest with you, I think at the top of the order, that might have been Oregon's most productive batting order was when Hannah Delgado was up there this past weekend. She talked with the media this week.
You've been really successful since you've been here. Going back to last fall, when you had the opportunities, you made the most of them. At what point in your mind would you say that it just kind of clicked, where it just, you were seeing everything perfect and everything just kind of came second nature, where it just clicked for you and you kind of became the superstar that you are now, I'll say?
Well, last year, I think it was really good for me to get the experience I did being a freshman, playing the Pac-12. And I feel like over the fall, that's kind of when it started to click for me this year. But just going off the experience, that's what allowed me to really develop and grow over the fall. And I feel a lot more comfortable at the plate and on the field this year.
Anna, can you take me into your plate approach? What are you sort of looking for when you're at the plate? And do you view yourself as an on-base type of hitter or someone who is going to try to hit for power?
I would say both. I know I can hit for power, but I'm adding more of my slap into the game right now. I'm trying to work on being a feared hitter out there, not knowing, or the defense not knowing what to do with me, whether I'm going to slap, bunt, or I can hit for power.
Do you know your situational splits? Are those things like, did you pay attention to consciously as a player in terms of like, do you pay attention to 2 outs or wrist or 2 out wrist or lefties or any number of the situations in terms of, you know, where you're standing or have goals for? Because like I say, I'm sure you heard what I was saying to Coach, like some of your situational splits, even going back to last season, are pretty darn good.
Yeah, I do pay attention to just situations sometimes, but I feel that the main goal for me, if there's a runner on, I'm going to try and use my power and get her in. But there's a situation where I can make something happen with no runners on base. I'll probably use my slap more because that I feel right now with my slap, it's a lot easier for me to get on base. But I think the main goal for me is just to put a lot of pressure on the defense to make stuff happen.
Hannah, one of the things that people have been describing a lot about this team, players, is just how tight and cohesive and the sisterhood that you guys have. How much of that do you think is driven by the off-field kinds of stuff, the intangibles that we don't see on the field? And if you could articulate kind of what you think is the most important factor that's made that what it is this season.
Yeah, definitely. Last year was a little bit harder for our team to connect because of COVID. The rules that we had were just really hard for us to really get to know each other in the beginning. But towards the end, like in postseason, we got really, really close. And I think from the very start this year, this team has gotten really close. I know me and some of my friends on the team, we hang out with all of the girls on the team outside of softball. And I think that just really helps build our bonds.
You know, I think that's going to be true of so many different teams, so many different schools, so many student athletes around the country. And I'm so glad that we're talking about that again because, you know, everybody talked last year about how hard that was. So I see it. Men's golf, by the way, top-level competition, some challenging weather. Runner-up. They finished up yesterday at the Prestige, a strong 24-team field. Challenging conditions. They outplayed 5 of the 6 top 25 teams in the field. Not bad for Oregon men's golf, huh? More on that coming up tomorrow. We'll see you then.
Jill, why don't you tell the class what you did this weekend?
Well, my dad and I went in search of some magical minnows and found a zillion of them in the stream from our lookout rock. Then my sister and I escaped from an evil slug king and went back to my super twig fort for safety. Then we told stories till it got dark, and the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Where were you, Jill?
We went to the forest. It's not that far away.
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org.